Hey guys, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about the disease that I have. How it all started was back when I was about 20. I was experiencing really frequent urination, and I remember writing down how many times I was peeing a day, and it was one day it ended up being like 25 times within 24 hours. So I was noticing that this just can't be right. So I was working at a chiropractic college at the time, and so it was really nice. I loved working there, and I had a lot of access to doctors anytime I wanted. I could go over to the clinic. It was within walking distance from my office, and just talk to one of the chiropractors over there. I mean, I had chiropractors all around me constantly, so I could always ask them for medical advice. So I went over and talked to them about it, and they didn't know what was going on, so they sent me to a urologist. And anyway, I ended up getting a biopsy done on my bladder, and that was kind of frightening because I had to be put completely under anesthetic, and when I woke up it was really painful. Every movement, just turning over in bed, was just this. If you've ever had to pee really badly and then imagine someone sitting on your bladder, that's what it felt like. It was just, and I didn't even have to go. It was just, oh, it was the most horrific discomfort that you could ever imagine. And anyway, he ended up telling me that I had interstitial cystitis, which is an inflammation of the inner wall of your bladder. So I'm like, okay, well, that seems kind of benign, so what's the treatment? So the treatment was pretty barbaric as well. They would put a catheter inside the urethra and then fill it up with this medicine that smelled like garlic, and I had to hold it in my bladder for 20 minutes. And this was, I don't even have words to describe how uncomfortable this was. It was horrific. Imagine having to pee as bad as you've ever had to pee in your life, and you aren't allowed to go. You have to hold it for 20 minutes. It was just horrible. But the treatments actually helped. So they actually helped a little bit. But anyway, I ended up getting, married and wanting to have children, and the doctor said you can't do these treatments if you want to get pregnant. So I kind of just lived with it. It wasn't painful. It was just kind of, I had to pee a lot, and that was just kind of my thing. I have to pee a lot. And it wasn't, some sort of disease process that was going on in my body, so I figured, okay, well, whatever. And I actually, before I got the biopsy, I actually had a x-ray of my kidneys to see if it's my kidneys, but that turned out to be fine. So, of course, he did a few other tests, but it was the biopsy that ended up telling me that I had cystitis. So years go by. I ended up having 2 children, never really went back on the that treatment where they put the medicine in there, but of course I always had to pee all the time. It was just my thing. And anytime, like when you're pregnant, they always test your urine to see if you have protein or blood or whatever. Every single appointment you have, they always check your urine, and I always had blood in my urine, always microscopic. You couldn't see it in the toilet, but I just always had it in there, and I always thought it was the cystitis. That's what I was told, that you're always going to have microscopic blood in your urine. And but they never told me I had protein in my urine, so that was fine. I guess it was, so I just assumed it was my cystitis, just all these years that went on. And then in 2015, my family, the 4 of us, got the flu. Not stomach, it was the flu, body aches, fever, just feeling like crap for like 4 or 5 days. And on day 2 of that flu, I urinated and I saw blood, and I mean, it was obvious blood. It looked like cranberry juice in the toilet, and that really frightened me. And I tested my urine. I've always had the dipsticks that they have at the doctor's office, and I tested my urine, and there was of course a lot of blood in it, and protein as well this time. And I looked it up on the internet, and it said that when you have a fever, you could have protein in your urine. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, we're all sick, so maybe that's why I have protein in my urine. And I didn't understand why I had such a large amount of blood in my urine. That really frightened me. So we ended up, finishing up our flu, and a couple weeks later, I kind of put it out of my mind, and then I started worrying about it more, and I started doing some research, and I found online that if you have blood in your urine that you can see, you probably have bladder cancer. And that really sent me into a tailspin of panic. So I went to a urologist, and he did I can't remember what they're called, cystoscopy, I think, where they put a camera in your bladder to see if there's any inflammation or whatever, or any sort of tumor. And he went in there and, everything looked fine, he said. There was no tumor or anything, so I was really relieved that it wasn't cancer. But he said, if it happens again, come back. I'm like, that's it? That's all you're gonna do? Is it, if it happens, come back? Needless to say, I'm not a fan of most doctors. There are some good doctors out there, but the ones that I've had in the past have not been the best. They don't really care about you. They kind of just like, oh, you have this, okay, goodbye. Like they don't really want to do the detective work to see what you really have. So I went and I did hours and hours and hours and hours of research online, which is what I do anyway about health because it's my obsession. But I did, an extensive amount of research about what could be going on in my body, because I still had protein in my urine, and I had that blood that I saw in my urine, which really scared me. And all my research, I kept coming back to something called IgA nephropathy, which is basically IgA is like a protein that, it builds up in the kidneys and it starts to damage it. And so once you have protein in your urine, that means, the filters in your kidneys aren't really filtering very well, and they're releasing protein, which they're not supposed to. You're supposed to have 0 protein in your urine. And at the time of course it goes up and down, but at the time it was, anywhere from 500 to 600 milligrams per day, because they do a 24-hour urine test where they test all your urine for 24 hours. You can't just take one dipstick. Don't ever take a dipstick of your urine and think that you're okay if you don't see any protein, because you could have protein in there the next time you urinate. So you have to do it for a full 24 hours. So my chiropractor actually was the one who said maybe we should do that test, not my regular doctor. And he also did another test on a gene called BLA127, I think it's called. And that is a gene that a lot of people have that if you test positive for, you have a higher risk of autoimmune diseases. And IgA nephropathy is an autoimmune disease, so I thought, that's what I've got. So, the way that this presents itself is that usually during some sort of upper respiratory illness, you see blood in your urine. Like, that's how it presents itself. And you have protein and blood in your urine, and it's like, that was the only thing I could find that presented exactly the way I saw it. So I decided to go see a nephrologist, which is a kidney doctor, and I really like her a lot. And she agreed that that's probably what it is. Now, the only way to get officially diagnosed with this autoimmune disease is they would have to stick a giant needle in my back and rip out a piece of my kidney and look at it under the microscope. In other words, do a kidney biopsy. I'm not interested in doing that. That sounds horrific, and I don't want to do that. And I even asked her, I'm like, do I have to do that? And she said, no, you don't have to. Obviously, if you want to, it'd be a good idea to see, how far the disease has progressed, or exactly what your kidneys look like, and exactly how much damage there is. But I don't see the point of doing that, because I'm not going to take a drug anyway. So it's like I'm not going to be treated by the doctor anyway, so it doesn't matter. I can just assume that I have this. And so of course, after I, found this out, I was absolutely devastated. I went into a pretty deep depression. And because, I've been eating so healthy for so many years, health is my life, nutrition is my life. And I eat healthier than like anybody I know, and here I've got this disease. Like, what happened? So, you know, what I decided to do was just a bunch of research to try to heal my kidneys, to try to lower the, you know, amount of protein that I'm losing, and to just build up my kidneys and heal them. And I did hundreds and hundreds of hours of research, you know, about what to do to keep your kidneys healthy. And I've also been getting regular, well, what I do is I do my own dipstick. I test my own urine, and I do it over a 24-hour period. It's not nearly as accurate as a lab, but it's just a way for me to kind of gauge how I'm doing. And I do this once a month. And then once a year, I get my urine tested at the lab. I do a 24-hour urine test through the lab, and I also get my blood work done. I get a CBC, a CMP, which is a complete metabolic panel. CBC is a complete blood count, which tests your, you know, kidney function, your creatinine, your GFR, and I also get my vitamin D tested and my C-reactive protein, my ESR, you know, all these different you know, tests that they do to just kind of gauge how I'm doing. And fortunately, my kidney function through my blood tests are perfect. Like, they're really good. I still am losing quite a bit of protein in my urine, so that still means that my kidneys are damaged. But it's been stable. It's been almost 4 years, and it's been stable through probably, hopefully, what I've been doing, you know, eating as perfectly as I can and taking certain herbs that heal the kidneys and that help support them. And you know, so like I said, I did a lot of research on, you know, how to keep the kidneys healthy, and maybe I'll do a video about, you know, exactly what I did and how I am able to kind of maintain what I've been doing, because usually people with this disease have high blood pressure. I don't. I have very low blood pressure, and a lot of people with this disease are, you know, lose a lot of protein, like a couple grams a day, which that's a nephrotic syndrome, and that's where you actually probably do need to take something to kind of, you know, get your protein levels down. But mine have been, you know, anywhere between 200, and this last time it was kind of high. Now, I got mine tested in November. It's now January, and I was losing about 850 milligrams of protein in my urine, and that really kind of freaked me out. But what I had done, I had gone dairy-free as soon as I found out about this back in 2015. I hadn't had a morsel of dairy, and all of a sudden, I just got sick of it. Like, I wanted some cheese, and so I started eating dairy. It was organic and grass-fed, but still, like, I just started eating dairy, and I don't know why, like, what happened to me. I kind of went crazy, and I didn't eat a lot of it, but I ate like a couple servings a day. I was eating yogurt and cheese, and it was really enjoyable. And then I got my results back in November that I was losing 850 milligrams of protein in my urine, and that's really high. That's really high, and that really freaked me out. So I cut the dairy. I'm like, okay, no more dairy. And then I tested it myself, and it was down back to like 500 milligrams in December. I tested it. So I was like, okay, that's better. That's not good. Of course, 500 milligrams is not good. It's supposed to be 0, but it's better than 850. So, you know, hopefully maybe it was the dairy because I wasn't supposed to be eating dairy. You know, throughout all the research that I had done, dairy was one of the really bad foods. Like, it's, you know, highly inflammatory, and I have inflammation in my kidneys, so I need to keep that inflammation down. You know, gluten, of course, I'll never eat gluten again. You know, it's highly inflammatory. I'm not going to cheat on gluten. We just don't eat gluten. It just doesn't even come into our house. So, but that really freaked me out. So hopefully, you know, maybe it was the dairy that, you know, made my protein go way up. But anyway, maybe I'll do a video on exactly what I've done, what my diet looks like to heal my kidneys. So anyway, thank you for watching this. And if you have any questions about kidney health or about anything else, leave them in the comment section, and like this video if you liked it, and subscribe for more videos about health and nutrition, and we'll see you next time.